Okay,
It
yeah.
feels like I saw someone describe it that way. I think I was reading through like the Reddit post, and I very much agree. And Stephen King's pretty good at this, as we've seen with like Stephen King and not Stephen King, The Dark Tower and Eyes of the Dragon. Is that the one?
I don't know.
Green Eye Dragon one. I haven't read it actually. It's a fantasy.
Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yeah, that's the one. Because the character Pennywise is actually kind of a fantasy creature. It has a very Lovecraftian feel when you sort of discover its origin. I can spoil the whole thing.
I mean, you don't have to. A lot of Stephen King is like that, though. Like Dreamcatcher's like that with obviously with aliens. Spoiler. But
No,
I mean,
no one gives a shit about Dreamcatcher.
I know. But Dreamcatcher, I was one of the first things I saw Stephen King in terms of like an adapted movie, and I thought it was really cool because what Stephen King does is he takes this kind of a pretty cliche concept, like, oh, like these kids have powers. We've seen that 100 times, and they're like, well, wait a minute, why do they have powers? It's like because of aliens, and then they have to fight the aliens at the end. That's what I've always liked about Stephen King is that he adds 3 or 4 different. They're not twists. They're just plot devices that you wouldn't expect would come up. And so that's why I should just trust that this movie's good, because I would like to see what happens. But man, it looks so fucking scary.
Yeah,
It's frightening.
Yeah.
Normally I'm not like I don't shit my pants at horror movies, but there were some sequences in this that were pretty trippy. Like, I don't know, like I was just entertained by it the entire time.
Sure.
I wasn't like screaming and jumping out of my seat. But there were some really, really cool sequences. That one where you see him in the fridge, when he climbs out of that fridge.
Yeah.
It's freaky.
I mean, I'm just seeing the trailer.
Yeah.
Freaking me out.
Well, so the kids who band together, the Losers Club, it's 7 kids. I'm gonna get the number wrong, but either way, so it's a group of friends. The way that works and the way because it's being adapted from a book, it actually benefits from that. I feel like because you can follow each character and how they're being individually terrorized. And like, it's really cool that because it's almost like every scene is, all right, what's this kid gonna see? Oh shit, what's it? And so it's just scary moment to scary moment to scary moment, and some of the moments don't even include being freaked out by a psychological, a psychological fear. Sometimes it's just the bullies terrifying the children. And actually, one of the scariest moments has to deal with the character of Beverly, who has a very rapey father.
Oh, shit.
And holy shit, is that probably not the scariest thing in this entire film.
Oh, man.
For those who haven't seen it, sorry, but there's a rapey father.
Is there anything bad about this movie that you guys can say? Is it cheesy? Kind of cheesy a little bit? Are the special effects bad?
No, I mean, I enjoyed it the whole time.
Yeah.
I like all the characters. The Jewish kid was the only actor who I wasn't jazzed on. That guy.
But that's because of your bigotry.
Yeah. But like Eddie and Finn Wolfhard.
Nice. You just like saying that. You wish that you had his name.
The one kid Eddie, he stood out as just my favorite part of the whole movie.
He's a little hypochondriac.
Yeah.
That's him right there.
And just every line he has is just delivered so well. Oh god,
I would say this
so scary.
Like Stranger Things actually, which Stranger Things was very much influenced by things like Stephen King novels and other 80s. So it's sort of like it is just sort of a circle. It's all influencing each other. Not one stole from the other, and I believe this movie was in development for a very long time. Actually, has some fun stories about that. But the two challenges, or the same challenge, presented itself in both Stranger Things, and it was child actors suck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've seen
usually
countless movies where the child actor is either looking at the camera or just oblivious to what's going on, and that's usually because they're a child.
Right.
And they don't know how to act. They somehow got a pretty damn good cast. I would say some of the child actors are okay, but I'd give them a 7.5, which is
that's not bad.
still better than 100% of the films out there.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
So bravo to the directors and producers and the casting director who picked the kids. Because they're actually, like you said, Eddie is a standout. The character Mike Wolfhard, what's his name?
Finn Wolfhard.
Sweet name.
Who directed it?
So I forget the director's name, but he's the guy who directed Mama, which is the film I never saw, which actually I want to go back and check out.
I think I ended up. I was thinking about it more after lunch when we talked about it. I think I ended up seeing that movie, and it was really scary. And I just didn't. Again, go for horror films typically, because usually they have like a really sad ending. So it's like it's really scary the whole time, and then they die at the end. And I'm always like, well, I don't know if I really want to see that. But Stephen King typically will have some sort of revenge tale.
It's like a fantasy. It's a bunch of kids getting together and they fight the monster.
Yeah.
And they band together, and they do change something from the show and the novel that I saw it. Red Letter Media had an issue with it, and the more I thought about it, I didn't really have too much of an issue, but the female character, Beverly, gets kidnapped by Pennywise, and she's used as sort of a plot device to move the story forward, so the kids have to go fight the monster.
Oh, that's not originally from the... Because, when that happened, I was like, that seems a little cliche, but I was like, oh, it's from a book from the 80s or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think it was originally that. They just all they decide, like an adventure group, that we need to go kill the monster.
Yeah, of course.
And they changed it a little bit, but yeah, it's I mean, that's the weakest part.
Well, that's what Stephen King likes to do that with Under the Dome. I read the book, read the whole book, it's a really big book, and it's got some really good twists and plot devices in it. And I watched the show entirely, and it wasn't very good.
Stephen King usually is known for his kind of meh ending.
Yes, yeah.
And this one had a more. It felt stronger all the way through.
Yeah.
I felt good afterwards. I actually had a few little nightmares.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not of the movie, but like my brain was in scared mode.
Yeah.
Because of that, and that's good. Very few movies have actually done that to me, so I give it props for that. And the one thing we're actually not really talking about, and they don't show much of it in the trailer, I'm really glad they didn't, was the actor Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise the Clown, did a fantastic job.
Yeah, he
had, I'll show you what he had to live up to.
Frightening. Did it need a reboot, you think?
Yes.
Yeah, the 90s one, pretty much what I've heard from everybody who like rewatched it preparing for this film, it does not stand up.
Okay.
Oh no, it's garbage. In the nicest way possible.
Yeah. I mean, Tim Curry's great, but
Oh yeah, Tim Curry's.
He was the best part, and he is this very. Here, I'll play a clip here. But he's very. Like, this is frightening.
He's frightening in like a funny way.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, bucko.
Yeah, he's frightening in a funny way, but not in a scary way.
Yeah. And like the music was a little haunting. It feels like a well-produced episode of Alone in the Dark. Or,
Very wise.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
oh yeah.
Yeah. Same.
Go on.
I mean, it was super low budget, and the source materials very dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of how like
Fear no evil, for thou art
So
with me.
Stand.
Thy
Stand
rod
is the
and-
same way. Stand's a great story, but it's really cheesy if you've seen that miniseries. Man, is it cheesy and not good in terms of special effects.
Yeah, the stand hasn't held up well.
No, but the story itself is great.
Here, I'll play some classic It while we're here. But yeah,
Gosh, I hate it.
no, there was definitely. I remember growing up watching this, and it is probably a nostalgia thing of, oh man, this stuff freaks me out. It's scary, and it shouldn't.
See, I never saw this when I was a kid because it scared me too much.
Yeah.
So if it was ever on TV, I would just not watch it.
Just run out of the room.
Yeah, exactly. When I was young,
Well,
I'm like,
so there's one big controversial moment in the book, and they obviously didn't do it in the series, and people thought they were going to do it in the movie. So there's a scene after they defeat It in the novel. There's a part where they get lost in the sewer, and the kids are trying to find their way out, and the character Beverly realizes we need to basically become adults. And so all the kids run a train on her. They basically each individually have sex with her.
I heard about this.
And then that causes them to become adults, and then they can find their way out. And that's that was Stephen King's way of writing about like the loss of innocence.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And he's kind of come out and defended it in certain ways, yada yada. And people are like, I can't believe they didn't put that in the movie. It's like, I'm okay with it not being there.
Yeah,
And
that's weird.
Stephen King even had a good point where he's like, no one seems to have an issue with the child murders, but they get a little weird when kids are having sex in a dirty sewer.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I'm more concerned about, don't get diseases down there, kids. Like, you don't want to get.
You gotta take it easy. Use protection.
You don't want to get poo poo
when you're in the sewer.
JJ.
Yeah, that's-
Be careful, and multiple partners. Careful, girls. So that's a thing that didn't happen. But the production of it actually, I want to say started in 2014 or longer. They've been trying to make this movie for a while, and the script has gone through multiple changes, which is pretty cool. And you can actually find them online.
Oh.
There was a different director and writer associated with it, and they ended up using a lot of their stuff. But they had a lot more of like Pennywise. There's a really cool scene where they have Pennywise in colonial times. This used to be
Oh shit.
That was kind of scary.
That was pretty freaky.
I didn't like that at all.
I was waiting for that moment, actually, when he's getting dragged into the little tunnel thing.
Ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, I highly recommend checking out some of the other stuff. But there's like a cool moment where it's like a naked Pennywise in like the 1500s, and he's like taking a child in exchange for like letting a woman live, like an older woman. That's sort of like to indicate that this creature has been part of this town for a very long time,
Yeah,
and
so
the town exists because he's there.
Okay.
Kind of cool. There's some really
that
cool
was
stuff.
that was another thing that I kind of liked about the movie is that the whole town kind of seemed to be under the spell of Pennywise.
Yeah.
Like none of the adults realized what was happening, and a lot of them like, I mean, you see in the trailer where the car drives by and the balloon appears in the background. Like they're basically all the adults are just kind of in this daze and don't notice all this bad shit happening.
They're complicit.
Yeah.
The idea too being that when you're a child, things are a lot more scary.
Well, they are.
You-
That's
you-
absolutely true.
You know who actually did a really good job of that is there's an MGMT video. I want to say it's the music video for kids, where it's a woman walking around with a baby and there's just monsters everywhere.
Yeah.
And that to me, I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. That's sort of what Stephen King is doing. When you're young and you're looking up at everything, things seem a lot scarier, and you always remember them.
Smaller.
Yeah, like us watching the original 1990s. I remember it being a lot scarier.
Yeah.
Because that's all we had. But now I thought they did a pretty faithful update. And it definitely ends in a way where they go.
There's gonna be a sequel.
Well, they basically just say chapter 1 at the end, which I thought was cool.
Okay.
Because I think they got a lot of early like buzz, and they're like, yeah, I think this might do well.
Did he write a sequel?
So that's the thing is, the original novel is like 1,400 pages long.
Oh yeah.
So
He loves doing that.
Yeah.
He's writing really
well,
long.
he basically wrote 2 books in one. So
Yeah.
it's the kids. They think or they assume they defeat Pennywise, but they say if he ever comes back, because they pretty much figure out that this happens every 27 to 30 years. They say we will band together, and we'll do it. The thing is, if they don't really tell you, and it's more in the novel, that when you leave the town, you forget about it. You forget it, and
all right.
and so when he comes
really?
back, so when he comes back, their memories start to come back of it, and one of the characters, even you saw in this movie, but one of the characters kills himself because he's too afraid to go back. He can't handle the fear that is Pennywise. I love this part. Stephen King loves doing the holding the wrong woman.
Ugh.
He goes, "Kiss me, fat boy."
You can see him mouth it.
Yeah.
That was great.
Tim Curry did a great job.
I guess for what he had to do.
For what he had, for the low budget, for what it was frightening. And there was just a lot. There's a lot more in the book that's just like, what the fuck? I think someone gets their eyes sucked out by leeches.
He loves Stephen King. He also loves leeches.
Yeah, there's
Remember, it was in the what's it called? Stand by Me.
I'm almost positive
Oh, yeah.
the book opens up with a homosexual man getting beat up and thrown over the bridge, and Pennywise is like waving at him.
Holy shit!
You're like, dear God, like that's how the whole thing begins in the original novel, not in the movie, obviously. But
I'm gonna read the book.
man,
To kind of go back a little bit, although they didn't put in a child orgy, they did. I was surprised by kind of just how much they were willing to do with kids, not sexually, but like Georgie gets his arm ripped off, and like you see full on like him crawling like down the road, just
Ooh.
missing an arm and like blood squirting out, and then at the end, Bill has like this cow killing gun like with the nail.
Oh yeah.
And he does it to Georgie, and like because it's actually he knows it's Pennywise, but it's you
Yeah.
know on screen it's him cow puncturing this kid in the head.
The child gets his arm ripped off and then he gets shot in the head.
Yeah, it was like
Holy
whoa, like I with all the kind of how safe people are try to be sometimes in current media, like it was like holy shit, that was really surprising.
You saw a little bit in the 1990s version where he grabs his arm, and then they describe it later. An adult says, "Yeah, I heard they," or I think they're like, "Yeah, it's like a wing, or the wings got ripped off a fly." And so you, as a 5-year-old, was like, "Oh my God, frightening!" In the movie,
They show
bites
the
his
whole
arm,
thing?
rips it off, and the kid's crawling, and then this giant clown hand comes out from the sewer, grabs him, and pulls
Yeah.
him in.
Holy shit, that's
And I
awesome.
was just like, I remember sitting there going like, holy shit, that's worse than what I imagined when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I always thought he just like ripped his arms off and pulled them in. It's like, they went fucking crazy with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what I guess kind of close out here. We can still talk about it. I got to do the ad read here in a sec, but they hit so many notes of the horror. What I appreciate is the psychological stuff, and there are a few jump scares here and there, but there's just stuff where like you're just kind of scared to look at the screen, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The last movie, and I always cite this, but I feel like the last movie to really do that to me was The Ring.
Yeah, the ring is frightening.
When the girl's coming out of the TV,
It is frightening.
whenever you feel yourself backing up into something,
Yeah.
that's good. Insidious,